Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some pathofexile 1 discussion. Today, I wanted to outline how to use the 329 crafting mechanic for a very specific niche of helmet. This is a crit slam build helmet. It is not a deterministic craft, but it is a very cheap craft, and the odds are somewhat in your favor. So step 1 is to either scour trade, or I guess if you're playing in solo self-found, you're kind of forced to make do with something worse than this. Actually, editing GOG popping in here, the Incarnation of Neglect drops a currency orb that can be used to somewhat deterministically create the item that we're using as a crafting base here, but you may need several runs of the Incarnation of Neglect. You probably just want to be willing to settle for something that's not quite a Giant Slayer helmet, maybe the level 78 base, maybe the level 73 pure strength base, maybe you go with one of the hybrid bases, but the Incarnation of Neglect can drop an orb that will allow you to deterministically create this. You're just not guaranteed to get the 66 plus strands that I use as a base point. You may end up getting less than that. What I'm looking for is the following search. I'm searching for a Giant Slayer helmet. I am insisting on item level 85 plus, and I'm insisting on memory strands being 66 or more. Then I am biasing towards rare ones. If it is magic, I treat it as though it's got like 10 less strands than it does. So I wouldn't take this one. It's 71 strands. By the time I regal it, there's a good chance it'll go under about 66. And if it was currently in a scoured state, I would treat it as though it had like 15 less strands than it does. So you need to get it into a rare state, and that's because we're going to be playing around with Cyaxon's Ducat. This requires a rare item as an input, and it reforges a rare item with random modifiers, including an infamous modifier. Not all of the infamous modifiers are what you want here, but one of them is extraordinarily good, and that is the crit slam one. The other ones can actually have some use too, and I have sold a couple of those. Now, memory strands, by default, the items are going to identify well rolled. That doesn't necessarily mean they're mods you want, but they'll be higher tiers of the ones that you've got. And in fact, this one was something that at one stage in the game's history would have actually been considered like a made item. And I might, because it's got so many strands on it, I might proceed with a different crafting method with it. But for these ones, we're going to go and just apply a Cyaxon's Ducat to each of them. And you've got a bit of a sense as to the sort of things that you're likely to get from it.
Yes.
You have a chat to Vesper here and throw this one in, a nice number of strands on it. With a Ducat, you'll notice that it's using 12,000 Deadman Sulfur. At the current League economy, that's like 40 Chaos or so, about a quarter of a Divine. I do think Deadman Sulfur is going to go up in price, and as you can see, I've traded into more than 1 million of it because it is so powerful. But here's what we do. We hit that commit button, and then we have a look at what we've got. So down here, we're not going to take this one because we got better, but we have life, we have hybrid armor life, we have your Warcries cover enemies in Ash for 5 seconds, and we have 591 to accuracy rating. Up here, we have another one we're not going to take, flat armor. Your Warcries cover enemies in Ash for 5 seconds. That's another one of the infamous mods. Accuracy rating, light radius hybrid, and 55 strength. Notice how these are all well rolled, even if they're not necessarily what you want. Also, that has used up every single strand on this item, whereas this one, which is the one we're going to take, actually will keep some strands over, which is a good spot to be in. So here we have flat armor, hybrid armor, stun recovery, rarity. Skills have 2.91% critical strike chance for each Warcry exerting them, i.e. the crit slam mod, fire resistance, and a wasted mod on the suffix as well. So we're going to take this one. I think it is better than this, even though the explicit mods as a whole are better on Bramble Shelter, but Victory Halo is the better overall package because it's got the most popular of those mods. Not much more we can do here though. This one, unfortunately, we have hit somewhat of a limit here, and that is that we're currently in a state where it's got 6 mods on it. What we can do at this point, though, is go and annul it, because there are multiple bad mods, so we're very likely to hit an annul on this. And while I'm in the inventory, I'm also just going to pick out some Orbs of Unraveling, because that's going to be a step that will come up towards the end of this craft as well. So this one, lots of potential here, but it's not quite there. Unfortunately, it's going to cost 100 plus Chaos in Deadman Sulfur. So keep that in mind. Make up your mind as to whether it's worth it or not. You could just say, you know what, I'm just going to put this one at a lower price and walk away from it. But this is a tutorial more than anything else. So we can remove the flat armor, or we can remove the fire resistance. The flat armor is kind of a disappointing mod because you want percentage armor on this, but it's still fine. We're going to go with that. that's the better of the two choices, because the fire resist is a very live mod. It's a boring stat, but people have got to get it somewhere. Now at this point, we want to exalt it with the memory strand and also the league mechanic. And I'm just going to use a classic exalt. It's not worth a Foulborn exalt. And then we'll see where we go with that. So life is an option. Percentage armor is an option. Really can't fault either of these options. I'm going to take the one that leaves more memory strands on the item, which is this one here. Make this real. And at this point, I am not going to use the league mechanic. Certainly not with 43% intangibility, so it's 43% to just waste Dead Man's Sulfur for no benefit. While I Orb of Unraveling, I'm just going to Raw Dog this Orb of Unraveling, and we're currently at 1400 armor. We stayed at 1400 armor. We didn't actually get any benefit out of that. But that is still fine. 1400 armor, 2.91% crit, and 1 good resist. This is not ideal, but this is a serviceable item, and that's the first attempt. Let's go for the second. And again, we're going to start with Saxon's Ducat. And this one is, again, it's going to be well rolled because we have now consumed some memory strands for that. Now, here we have the Fortification mod. I have no experience as to whether this sells or not. Given that nothing here is excellent, I'm actually kind of inclined to take it. We've got mana reservation efficiency of skills supported by Spellslinger. There is nothing wrong with this mod, that it kind of doesn't play very well with a 224 strength requirement helmet. So I don't like either of these choices. For that reason, we're going to make the other one real. And it looks like I am getting a lag spike there. That's all right. So we take this one. And now at this point, it is just as simple as going and applying Exalted Orbs using the League mechanic. Again, this just costs a few chaos each time you do it. Worth of Dead Man's Sulfur, but it's probably going to end up worth it. Here, you're looking for a couple of things. You are looking for Flat Life. You're looking for Percentage Armor. Those are the two best things you're likely to see.
No need to keep you.
And we've got a good tier of Percentage Armor up there. It's definitely going to be this one here. So we're going to take this choice, because we already have the Flat Life on it. And so now at this point, prefixes, there's no outstanding choices that are left. And we've also used up all of the memory strands, so we can't use an Orb of Unraveling to elevate it further. I don't know whether this particular mod is going to sell or not. Nearby enemies take 1% increased fizz damage per 2 fortification on you. It's not a bad mod in any way, but it's not as explosively powerful as the crit one is. So anyways, that's a bit of a miss, but I think it's worthwhile trying. And all we've lost here is a base that's like 40 chaos. Base that's 40 chaos plus then the amount of sulfur that we used on Saxon's Ducat, which I think is another 40 chaos. Yeah, so basically we're only down 80 chaos or so out of doing the attempt, and we might even get, you know, this item really costs us like 100 chaos. I could see if someone wants that mod, if someone thinks to look for that mod, I could definitely see them paying a divine for that. Maybe they're not looking for the mod though.
Good as new. Better.
Okay, so we've got the crit mod again here, and we've got the crit mod again here, and we have inherent rage, loss of rage is 20% slower. I have never seen this mod sell, so I'm not taking it, even though the explicit mods on the rest of it are pretty good. Now, we have 18 strands with rarity, flat armor, flat strength, and accuracy rating. It's not terrible, it's not really great. I actually prefer this one by quite a bit. So down here, that is a hybrid tier 1 mod there. And also we have 66 memory strands left. We're going to want to hit percentage armor and life as our exalts. We are definitely not guaranteed to hit those two, but if we do, this is going to be really good. And even if we don't, it's already a very usable item as it is. So now we're going to go and exalt it. Again, not worth a Foulborn. Foulborns are too expensive for this. And I think Foulborns use a tremendous amount of sulfur as well.
That'll serve you well.
Okay, so we have flat armor, we have rarity, we have flat life. I'm taking flat life out of these. Flat armor is a bit disappointing because you have 820 without it. So adding 102, which is the tier 3 roll, I think it's like only 200 for the tier 1 roll. It ends up just being disappointing against 820. Whereas if you were to get percentage armor, that's actually really solid. In fact, there would be more armor from taking this 41% increased armor hybrid mod, which people don't usually consider to be a good mod at all. Okay, we still have 63 strands, which is good news. And we're going to take the chance here, trying to get that percentage armor. But even we don't, we did get it, excellent. We've got 95% up there, we've got 100% down here. Those are actually the same tier. Oh no, they're not the same tier. That's tier 1. So yeah, we're going to take the tier 1 that's perfectly rolled out of those, and this is now a very, very good item. Now at this point, we have 40 memory strands left, we're 19% intangible, and we have 2 mods that can be elevated. At this point, I think I'm actually going to, because this is a much better outcome, I'm going to just recheck the price to use this. So that is a Divine Orb worth of Deadman's Sulfur, maybe slightly more than a Divine. And on top of the Orb of Unraveling, I think it is worth it to get more chances at hitting this. And note that you only get 2 ghostly copies with the Orb of Unraveling, but I still think it's worth it. More chances to upgrade both to tier 1. And here, so this one has gone tier 2 and tier 1. I'm fine with that. It's not quite perfect, but it's very good. So what do we end up with here? This is the best of 3 outcomes. We have skills have 2.85% crit chance for each Warcry exerting them. We have an excellent amount of armor, 1436. We have 150 life. We have 2 premium resistances. I sold one of these for 10 divines after it didn't sell overnight for 12. And that one was slightly different. I can't remember what it was. It was a single resist, and it had something else as the final suffix. Something of comparable quality, so it wasn't an amazing, amazing mod. Now, let's talk about alternatives you could use to this craft as well. You'll notice that I'm using classic exalted orbs here. You are not required to use classic exalts. You can use all sorts of esoteric currencies instead. Have a look at the way that you're planning your crit slam build and think, is there anything on, say, the Crusader mod pool? Is there anything on the Elder influence mod pool? Is there anything on the Shaper influence mod pool? And so on and so forth. If you find something that is fantastic for you, then maybe you want to consider that and using one of the Shaper exalts, Crusader exalts, or whatever, one of the Styx influence exalts. That's one thing that you can do. Another thing that can come up is you can get complete and utter rubbish prefixes alongside excellent suffixes. And that actually happened to me last night when I was doing a bunch of these crafts offline. In that case, what you want to do, if you have a prefix free on the item, then you should purchase a Wild Bristle Matron. This is one of the beasts that costs like a divine or so currently, and it applies a random meta mod to the item. But if you've got all your suffixes full and all your and at least one free prefix, there's only one valid meta mod, and that is suffixes cannot change. If you're not in a state where you can use a Wild Bristle Matron, then you can pay 2 raw divine orbs on the crafting bench, and you can just traditionally craft. The suffixes can't be changed. At that point, you can then, I did a Reforged Life, which I think was actually a mistake in hindsight. I think it should have been Reforged Defenses, but you can reforge it with whatever you want. And that may also be something that's useful if you have already used an Influenced Exalt on the item, but you hit a disappointing result with it. Then you could conceivably go for the more expensive Reforged Influence craft. So there's a lot of ways that you can go with this. This is not a precise follow steps A, B, C, D, E. You're always thinking along the way. There's a bunch of branching paths, but that is the new crafting mechanism for you. Essentially, it is doing crafting as you normally do in Path of Exile, except the results at each step are just rigged in your favor quite a bit more than usual. And at the same time, Deadman's Sulfur, you're just burning through it fast, which then means that the people that are going and running all of the charts and all of the voyages, they are finding more loot down there because you're pushing up the value of that Deadman's Sulfur. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. May your Varlorbs have interesting results. And may also your Cyaxan's Ducats have interesting results too.